We have huge news out of the Calgary Flames organization. Head coach Darryl Sutter has been relieved of his duties. We'll discuss what this means for the team, potential direction they may be heading in, coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some pretty substantial news out of Calgary. Calgary has decided to move on from head coach Darryl Sutter. Now, of course, we already knew that the team and former GM Brad Treliving had parted ways earlier in April, but obviously that was more at Brad Treliving's own doing. We know that at the beginning of last year, Sutter and Treliving were both offered contract extensions from ownership. Sutter decided to accept. He had a 2-year deal, which is only supposed to be kicking in on July 1st, and Brad Treliving decided to hold on and wait. And of course, now he's parted ways with the organization. I know going into the offseason, there was a lot of speculation on will the GM be back? Will the coach be back? Could they both be back? Could they both be gone? And now we know the answer, that they're both going to be gone, but a little bit different reasoning behind the circumstances behind each one. Now, of course, Don Maloney, the interim GM and the current president of hockey operations that was announced after Treliving parted ways with the organization, will be speaking to the media in about an hour or so from the time I record this video, around 11:30 local time in Calgary. So we might get a little bit more clarity on what their steps are going to be to find a replacement. Maybe they have somebody internal, but no new head coach at this point in time has been named. I don't know if any assistant coaches are affected by this. Of course, Sutter's worked with the Flames on multiple occasions. This time around, it was kind of a bit of an odd experience, to be honest. His total record when he came back in the 2021 season until the end here was 102, 63, and 28, which is a decent record. Last year, they had a first-place finish, 111-point season. I mean, it was a great year. They also had Matthew Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau on expiring contracts. Got them to the second round of the playoffs. They won a first-round series against Dallas, which was, a 7-game, battle. And obviously that was something because they hadn't done that in a while. But then they had major change in the offseason with first Gaudreau leaving via free agency, Tkachuk not wanting to sign and basically forcing a trade. And, here we are, a different team, completely different result. This year they were 37, 28, and 17 and out of the playoffs. So you go from first place to being out after some substantial changes. But Darryl Sutter is, he's 64 years old. He seems to be set in his ways. Not real fond of giving young players a lot of opportunity, which I know has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I know when there was a lot of times earlier this year when it seemed like the organization, I know the fan base for sure, were, begging for some younger players like Phillips or Belche to kind of get an opportunity. They'd be called up and they'd be waiting forever before they got in the lineup. He had one time when he was asked about, I believe it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was Belche's debut. He said, okay, what number was he? And just read off the stats. And it just seemed like he was being really stubborn and pushing back against the GM for calling him up and basically feel like he was forced to put him in, which is not something he would want to do. We also know that a lot of players have made it clear, according to NHL insiders, that if he's back, I don't want to be back. And this includes players that are under contract, not only ones that are on expiring deals that wouldn't necessarily want to consider returning, who have that flexibility, but other guys under contract. Like the rumored players are guys like Elias Lindholm, Michael Backlund. I can't confirm that they want out or anything of that nature, but it's been speculated based on their end-of-season media availabilities and how things went, that based on their comments and stuff, that they wouldn't really want to return under Darryl Sutter. They seem very non-committal when it comes to talking about contract extensions. So obviously this could change things. It could change things a lot for certain guys wanting to stay versus go. Who will the new GM be? We don't even know that yet. I would suspect at this point that maybe they'll take care of the GM role first and then let him hire the coach. That would make more sense. That would come in that order. I think an internal candidate like Craig Conroy, who's been with the organization a super long time, former player, a long-time AGM, is more than ready, from what we've heard, to take on the role. I would like to see him get an opportunity, and we'll see what happens here. If he does, this should be a fairly quick process for them to get a new GM in place, and then he can look after getting the head coach. They have plenty of time to take care of this over the next number of weeks, leading into the full busy part of the offseason with the draft and free agency and all that. So we'll see what happens. But big news out of Calgary, Darryl Sutter is out. I assume this will make a lot of players more happy about returning and more likely to consider contract extensions and all that. I'd like to know what the fan base thinks. I know there's a lot of fans that were wanting this change. So I'd love to know what everybody thinks down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. Did they make the right move here? Who's a good candidate to replace him? We don't really know. No rumored candidates here just yet, but there's certainly lots of up-and-coming coaches around the league that, between assistant coaches at the NHL level or head coaches at the American Hockey League level or college that have been rumored to be getting opportunities or kind of be, on NHL teams' radar. So we'll see what happens. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.